The giveaway for this Ford Mustang GT 2015 ends this Wednesday. Click the link in the description, whynotyougear.com, and get entered to win. Buy a mug or a digital download, and someone's going to go home with this car. And now, the exact opposite of an American V8, a sensible hybrid. 2022 Hyundai Ioniq No 5. Listen to me. This car is boring as morning announcements. But when you're an airline pilot, you want the opposite of two General Electric high bypass turbofan jet engines and a scroll of procedures for your morning commute. Hyundai is going horn to horn and bulge to bulge with Toyota right now, who makes the most an car. Who makes the most an car? Who makes the beigest kitchen appliance? Throughout the 2000s and early teens, Toyota ruled the smug suburban streets with the pat myself on the donut hole Prius. I'm a good person. I show people how much money I put in the collection plate. If it's dollar bills, I take it out nice and slow. And if it's a check, I'm filling it out loud. Everybody look at me and see how much more sorry for my sins I am than you. Toyota Prius, I'm doing my part. Are you? So, Hyundai knew they couldn't compete with Toyota in the smug department. Instead, Hyundai outblanded the Prius. You think you know gray? I'll give you office carpet gray. Think you know rental car interior? I'm gonna give you Oscar Mike Alpha, Epony Airfield Omaha, and all the bars are closed. Now, you think I'm ready to dump all over this like a lottery winner having diarrhea on a miniature golf course, but the Ioniq has a saving feature. These paddles. The Ioniq has a dual clutch, but these paddles have nothing to do with the transmission. These paddles control the regen braking aggressiveness. Pull the right paddle to increase it, pull the left to decrease it. There are 4 levels, 0, no regen, and 1, 2, 3, and they're all useful for maximizing your range. 0 is good for coasting down long state highway hills. Number 1 is slight regen for normal hybrid driving. Number 2 is for descending hills and most city driving to preserve your brakes. And number 3 is preposterous. Who needs claw-like regen? Are we descending a cliff face? I thought I would need it for this corner. Well, maybe I do. This is kind of like a hairpin. Yeah, let's do 3. Still no braking needed. And yeah, 3 just grinds you to a halt. The steepest hill in my area wasn't steep enough for level 3 regen, and it still slowed the Ioniq down. The fun comes from modulating the 4 settings as you drive. It's an adult activity similar to nerdish hypermiling in a Honda Insight. Okay, may I do an aggressive braking with level 3?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah.
I suppose you could leave the Ioniq in level 3 and almost one pedal drive everywhere, but one pedal driving in hybrids and EVs is a bad habit. And you need precise control with your right foot to keep the Ioniq from yo-yoing or rubber banding along. So you got to keep going up and down between these 4 stages of regen. And you can pretend you're a pilot if you're not one. You can drive and pretend you're setting flaps, position 1, 2, and 3, combined with throttle, and imagine your brake is an airspeed brake. Hyundai Ioniq. So boring you have to visit the land of make-believe to entertain yourself. Hyundai Ioniq. The outside of the car welcomes you like a Japanese vending machine. And the inside of the car says farewell like Windows XP. Hybrid cars seem to exist as a perennial free target. People who are all about EVs will say they didn't go far enough, that a hybrid is a half measure. And traditionalists will ignore it because it has an electric motor. It's an easy mark for boring condescension from people who think you're still a sellout if more than 20 people have heard about your band. The Ioniq Hybrid isn't a performance car, and it's not built to try to be one. So it's not the right car if you have any aspirations toward sharp cornering and local renown as the guy who outran a Challenger on Woodward Avenue. But, and I get that this is spicy to say so, it still feels like something that needs saying every now and again. Not every car has to be fun. And not every car is good just because it's fun. And what I mean is not everyone necessarily prioritizes having something they actually enjoy. Doesn't mean that everyday driving is a nightmare, just that the drive itself becomes a forgettable experience that folds into the fleshy creases of a work week. The dread enemy of postmodernism called pragmatism. The school of thought that rejects the unpractical. In a way, you kind of need it to navigate life. Because if you're open and logical about how to make money, you'll recognize that you can't always do what you want or maintain certain principles without compromise. Case in point, Roman wants an AMC Eagle. But he recognizes that while it'd be nice in the short term, it's not really viable as anything other than a money sink in the long term, given the conditions in Pennsylvania and the lack of a garage. Now he could say, screw it, and just get one anyway, but he would have to compromise on his principle that his next car will be something more practical and less delicate than a V6 Mustang from 2004. For some, a car is pure utility, practicality. For example, this owner, Brian, not me, different Brian, came to an Ioniq from a 2014 Subaru WRX after looking for something to accommodate a long commute to his base airport. So fuel economy was his first consideration, as is something that is quiet and smooth so he can stroll through known crew member without a single sweat drop on his uniform. And even if he isn't getting factory EPA estimates, he's still saving a lot compared to a WRX. He misses having a manual transmission, but those are the kinds of sacrifices you make in the name of pragmatism. It really wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the people who bought this car were guys coming to the realization that they need their car to actually work, and not be in and out of the shop because it's a passion project that's a blast to drive, but eats money like a broken ATM. Or Children of the Atom, the arcade game. The engine here is the 1.6-liter gasoline direct injection Atkinson cycle hybrid. It's what Hyundai dubs the Kappa engine, which is characterized by the presence of an accessory drive belt that doesn't use an auto tensioner. But I couldn't see if this is the type of engine that has the yank the alternator type tension system. You know, just loosen the alternator and someone just hold it as hard as you can and just crank it down. I guess they wanted an engine with a lighter weight, and somehow not having a tensioner solved that. I mean, Honda did that for a while. The electric motor is 32 kilowatts and is combined with the ICE 6-speed EcoShift dual-clutch automatic. You get 4-wheel disc brakes with the aforementioned regenerative braking, a 240-volt lithium-ion polymer battery system, and factory fuel economy estimates that are charitable enough to be a tax write-off, since Brian hasn't gotten anywhere near the 54 city and 57 highway or 55 combined factory ratings. The best he got is 47.5. I think he got 48 once. Still better than a WRX for what it's worth, but not as good as what Hyundai claimed. But then Hyundai says a lot of things. Because in the manual they said there was a 12-volt battery backup, just a regular car battery. And they said where it was, and we go to the compartment where it was supposed to be in the trunk, but there's nothing there. Just an empty cubbyhole. Well, we looked it up, and Car and Driver says that the 240-volt and 12-volt circuits are separate, but that Hyundai wired permanent jumper cables from the 1.6 kilowatt lithium-ion battery to the 50 amp-hour starter battery. This is so that in the event that the car battery fails to start the car engine, then you can just hit the 12-volt reset button, and the main hybrid battery will send a little current to the starter battery. Well, it better send a lot. Starter motors, when it comes to 12-volt systems, need everything the battery can throw at it. Power numbers are 104 horsepower and 109 pound-feet of torque. You add the electric motor to that, and you get 139 horsepower. Top speed is $1.15, and 0 to 60 is 8.9 seconds, just so they can say it's under 9. But appearance-wise, this is still an car. If it could host a late-night talk show, the Hyundai Ioniq would be slapping the desk with laughter every time The Rock tells an anecdote. Not a Karen-mobile, but it's Karen-adjacent. It's a type of car that looks like it isn't beyond reporting a yard sale for not having a permit. It possesses a threatless desperation for acceptance, as unambiguously adequate as modern automotive design would dictate. It's a fine car. And the type of people who would rag on you for owning one are the types who consistently say rock and roll is dying. Like the same jaded people haven't been saying that since before I was born. The type of pot-bellied men that keep going around saying, "This country's going down the toilet. Oh, happy times are over." The type of people who are born and line up at the graveyard. They see square values in every aspect of the world that runs contrary to their own, and can't reconcile why anybody would want to live inside the box rather than out of it. They just want to pay for their handle of Fireball and put the rest on Pump 6. This is not a call to conformity, don't think I'm talking about that, but simply an acknowledgement that life can be hard enough as it is. Sometimes you just want something new that works, because having one less thing to worry about could mean the difference between peace of mind and a piece of work.